Greg, as Floridians batten down the hatches, meteorologists say Hurricane Ian is expected to become a Cat 3 storm by nightfall. Latest models show Ian making landfall in Florida by midday on Thursday. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency for all of Florida.
Make preparations now, and I know a lot of people have been doing it throughout the state of Florida, and the things that you should be prepared with are things like food, water, batteries, medicine, fuel.
Mandatory evacuation orders have been issued for coastal residents of Hillsborough County, which includes Tampa Bay. In addition, there is an advisory for the Florida Keys and Cuba. 5,000 Florida National Guard have been activated, and another 2,000 are expected to arrive from other states. Some areas on the Gulf Coast may see a storm surge of up to 10 feet. And Joe Biden is being called out for comments he made last week at a Democratic National Committee fundraiser, some calling him a delusional liar.
Already 166 House Republicans have signed on to a bill that would ban abortion nationwide. And the senior senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham, has proposed a national ban on abortion with criminal penalties put on doctors and put them in jail if they, in fact, violate the ban.
The White House refuses to acknowledge Senator Lindsey Graham's proposed bill restrictions on abortion, which would ban it after 15 weeks. Joe Biden not only lied about what is in the bill, also lied about what the Catholic Church's position on abortion is, according to RedState.com. Graham's proposal does have exceptions that Biden said weren't in it, and they include rape and incest. In addition, Biden said, "I happen to be a practicing Roman Catholic. My church doesn't even make that argument now." The U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops endorsed Graham's bill, which blows up Biden's claim. Well, just when you thought liberals and President Joe Biden might take responsibility for our broken border and 2 million illegals entering the country this year, along comes NBC's Chuck Todd with a fairy tale that is more nightmare than a bedtime story.
This labor force participation rate, it's been dropping. Pre-pandemic, we were at 63.4. We're still sitting at 62.4. 1 percentage point, by the way, represents 2.6 million people missing from this workforce. And guess where these workers are missing from? They're short 45,000 workers in Boston. They're short under 400,000 in New York. They're short 170,000 in Washington, D.C. Even Miami is short some 20,000 there. So the point is, these migrants could actually be helping our labor force problem, which would help our supply chain, which could help inflation.
Letting millions of illegals continue to pour across our border and give them jobs will not turn the economy around. Stopping reckless government spending and keeping Americans working is the answer. Newsbusters reports while Americans are losing their jobs in Joe Biden's recession, Todd's solution is to let immigrants take their jobs. He even fails to understand that the supply chain is not the cause of inflation. Too much money chasing too few goods is what skyrockets inflation. Republicans charge the Biden administration with breaking the law by transporting illegal immigrant girls to states where they can kill their unborn children late in their pregnancy because federal law prohibits using taxpayer money to facilitate an abortion. The lawmakers, led by Senator James Lankford, said they were shocked they would have to explain the horror of driving a pregnant minor whose unborn child is well past the point of viability to a state where a provider will perform an elective late-term abortion. Langford stressed the action is not illegal use of taxpayer dollars. The Republicans allege HHS is breaking portions of the well-known Hyde Amendment. They also insisted they received the numbers of how many abortions have been facilitated and how many were chemical versus surgical abortions. Italy has elected what's being called its first far-right leader since World War II. Giorgia Meloni and her Brothers of Italy party will lead the country as part of a far-right, or right-wing, that is, coalition, also made up of former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi's center-right Forza Italia party, as well as the League Party. The 45-year-old Meloni will be Italy's first female Prime Minister. Her party is said to advocate naval blockades to stop large, unauthorized, illegal immigration from Africa. Greg?
Okay, Christiane, do you think busing and flying of illegals to Democrat-run cities and states, do you think that's getting America's attention? Is it getting on our radar yet?
Well, I hope that it's something that causes the mainstream media to even cover it. I mean, just this past week, a Pinellas County Sheriff's deputy was killed by an illegal alien who was illegally working in Florida and illegally driving in Florida. And you've seen very little about that in the news at all. And so it's time for the American people to become the news and start being the people who are telling the truth about what's happening instead of relying on the mainstream media to invent their narrative.
Kamala Harris shared a message for Christians on the killing of unborn babies. Listen to what she had to say.
You don't have to change your faith or abandon your faith or your deeply held beliefs to agree. The government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
All right, the Vice President and the President say you can follow Christ and be comfortable with people ending the lives of innocent children. What's your response?
Well, if that's really the way she believes, then why should Christians have to change their sincerely held religious beliefs to stay in the military and not have the government force them to take a vaccine in their body? See, they don't really mean what they say. They're actually hypocrites. They're actually just bullies that change their perspective in order to force people to do what they want. They're not trying to say government shouldn't force people to do things with their body. They actually believe the exact opposite.
Yeah, well, Joe Biden says he's a practicing Catholic. I think he needs more practice.
KrisAnne, this is Greg. Russian President Vladimir Putin granted full Russian citizenship to U.S. whistleblower Edward Snowden today. So does that citizenship signal that he'll work with Russia's KGB to help their efforts against the United States?
Well, I'm not sure that we can draw any conclusions, but you can rest assured that the Russian government isn't giving citizenship to someone simply because, they want to rescue some person coming from the United States. They're going to get something out of this. Now, what Snowden does for the Russian government, what he can do for the Russian government, I suppose that's up for speculation. But we must realize that the Russian government doesn't do anything unless they're getting something out of it.